Hi guys, today I'm going to be talking about my unit of the exploration of the term family and connect, connected, and connecting. This unit will be taking place with my combined 4th and 5th graders. Our school is one of the 7 elementary schools in the Kansas Can redesign, so we're doing a lot of new ways to flip education and how that looks. So one of the aspects is we're combining grade levels, so I have a group the grades I will be doing this with are combined 4th and 5th graders. Alrighty, I will be going over kind of the outline for my unit design, as well as talking about my thought process and my ideas for this unit. Here we go. So my big idea for family is that it's meaningful. Everybody can relate to family. Everybody has a family. Now, everybody's family and personal experience with this term may look different peer to peer, but that's what I think one of the beautiful things about this is. We're all different and that is okay, and I really want my students to start recognizing that just because their family may look different than the person sitting next to them, there's nothing wrong with that. And we will also be making the connections between family and how we're all connected. So I will be looking at the standards for the visual art and national standards, as well as our state art standards. So I've listed the standards above, and the rationale and goals for my unit for my students they will be creating a mini collage, a stop motion film, and then a mixed media collage, and all of these will be referencing our theme of family, connect, connected, and connecting. So some essential questions I created for my unit were, how does art help us understand the lives of people with different backgrounds and culture than us? And then how do our own beliefs, culture, and life experiences influence how we relate to an artwork? Our school really focuses on I can statements that are in kid-friendly terms, so I created 4 of those that will also be going along with my unit. So I can identify what family means, I can explore with mixed media, I can utilize art history and artists to generate ideas, and I can use stop motion, word clouds, and Flipgrid. So my introduction will be like, what can family look like? I really want my students, like I said in the beginning, to understand that everybody's family is different and that is okay. So I'll be showing them a variety of artworks that go along with the theme of family. I will show them my video of my mini art assignment that talks about family.
It's such a beautiful thing.
And really get their eyes and their gears going that family can look different across the board, whether it be in pop culture, how they see family at home, just giving them a variety of ways in which a family can look. So the first artist I really want my students to focus on is Victoria de Almeida. She is an artist that I've shown in my VTS sessions, and my students have really resonated and responded well to her work. It's very whimsical. A lot of the actions that are taking place in her work my students can identify with, because the majority of my students are Hispanic as well. So here we go. So when clicking on her link, you'll see it takes you right to her biography, and you can see right away that family is a big aspect in her work as well. She was born in Mexico, and she actually resides in California now. I really like her artwork, and I think my students really do too, because they can relate to it. Like I said, a lot of my students come from Hispanic backgrounds, and a lot of her work obviously identifies with her background of being Hispanic as well. And they can see, like the grandma making tortillas, and a lot of my students, have grandmas, or they've made tortillas with their grandmas. So there's a lot of connections and connecting that my students can do within this artwork. The next artist I will be showing my students is going to be Frida Kahlo. So her artwork deals a lot with family as well, in a different aspect than Victoria de Almeida. Hers is a little bit more dark, so I'll have to consider some of the images I show my students, because my students are elementary, but I do think there are a lot of good images that I can still show her, or show my students. So when clicking on the biography page of Frida, it'll take us to another just very basic page where my students can generate some ideas from. It gives kind of just, her main bio, that she was a painter also from Mexico. She was married to Diego Rivera, another famous painter as well. Just some very basic information that my students can learn a little bit more about Frida as well. Next, assessment. So I really liked word clouds when we were talking about assessments. I think I plan to use this as kind of a form of assessment at the beginning after I introduce the theme of family and connected, and connecting. This will be a way for my students to organize their thoughts on what the term family means to them, and they will be able to assess. I will be able to assess this if they're really understanding the term. The word clouds is kind of like the word coggle. It's very user friendly for kids. There's a lot of neat components of it where they can change the layout design or the color scheme. And this is just a way for them to, just blurt out or not blurt, but type out their thoughts about what the term family means, and then it kind of puts it into this really neat word cloud. I put this on this SAMR scale as augmentation as a form of assessment as well. The other form of assessment I really enjoyed kind of digging into and learning about was Flipgrid, and I plan on using this towards the end of my unit. I plan on using this as kind of a form of an oral artist statement for their final piece. So their final piece is going to be a mixed media collage where they're going to have a lot of different techniques that they'll be able to put into their collage. Will have been covered a lot of different areas in which different mediums have been explored, and I really want them to kind of just, go with whatever their kind of gut feeling is and where they want to go with it. I had mentioned previously that I really want to start introducing TAB, which is teaching for the artistic behavior, to my upper level grades. Where they, really focus on the studio habits of the mind, and they get to come into the art room and they get to really be artists, and they get to choose what area and what medium they really want to work with. So this is going to be kind of a gateway or a start to that movement of that kind of style of teaching with this grade or these groupings of grades. So I think having the freedom for them to kind of choose what medias they want to use to create their mixed media collage is really important for me. And I think this assessment piece of Flipgrid will really allow them to reflect on that. So Flipgrid is a really cool tool that the students can create up to 90 seconds of speaking, basically. And then it'll compile it into kind of a page where I can look at it, but the really neat thing is other students can look at it. I've noticed that students, especially with social media, really are more open, so I'm hoping with this kind of visual and recording on their iPads that they'll be a little more open than if they were speaking in front of the class per se or just writing it down on paper. So the Flipgrid, like I said, this assessment piece will be focusing on their kind of artist statement for their final piece, which will be the mixed media collage. And on the SMAR scale, I kind of put this in my blog, but I think it could be 2 aspects of the scale, and I'm not sure if that is okay, but I think it could definitely be modification and then redefinition. Because it's taking that regular artist statement of, pencil and paper and kind of doing a flip to it or putting a spin on it. So lastly, my timeline for this unit is going to be roughly about 9 weeks, I'm hoping. I see my students on a 5-day rotation, so typically once a week, hoping that there's no snow days or school out days or PD days. So for week 1, I really want to introduce the theme and the idea of the mini collage. They might have a little bit of work time to get started, but this is basically just going to be the big introduction to this unit and this theme. Week 2, I plan on introducing the word clouds for them to kind of start generating those ideas and thoughts in the words that kind of come to mind to my students when they think about family. And then this will also be a work day for time for them to start composing that mini lesson. Week 3, I plan to introduce stop motion. This is where I will introduce my stop motion tutorial with them, as well as go over how to use stop motion, let them kind of experiment and play around with stop motion. And then we